If you're a first-time buyer in Halifax and your budget keeps getting laughed at by the market, I need to talk to you about Lower Sackville. It's one of the strongest first-time buying markets in HRM, and almost nobody's making videos about it. So today, I'm going to show you why it works, what you actually get for your money, and the one thing to watch out for before you buy there. If a lower price point matters more than being downtown, email me at loganexprealty@gmail.com. I'll send you what's listed in Sackville right now today. All my information is in the description of this video. Don't hesitate to connect. Here's why I keep sending first-time buyers to Lower Sackville. It's consistently one of the strongest entry points in HRM for someone trying to get into their first home. And it doesn't get talked about nearly as much as Halifax, Dartmouth, or Bedford. That's exactly why it's worth your attention right now today, because everyone else catches on a little too late, and then it's gonna be gone and not a hidden gem for you anymore. So let's talk about where it actually is, because I think people picture it as a farther away place than what it really is. It sits along the 101 and the 102 connector directly into Bedford and the rest of HRM. It's not stuck out on its own little island somewhere where the commutes are 2 hours to get anywhere into Halifax. So you're not cutting yourself off from the rest of the city. You're trading a bit of distance for a real jump in where your money goes and what your money can actually buy you. So what does your money actually get in Lower Sackville? Typically, you're looking at older bungalows or starter homes with a real lot size. You're not looking at tiny units squeezed into a downtown building. For a lot of first-time buyers, that's the trade that actually matters. More space and a yard instead of a smaller footprint closer to downtown for the same price. On the commute, you're not looking at some long haul either. It's a straight run down the highway, or you can go into Bedford towards Halifax. Whichever makes the most sense for your daily commute. You have a few options here, and it doesn't feel like you've moved away from the city entirely. It's also grown a lot when it comes to amenities over the years. More grocery stores, better schools, more parks, so you don't need to drive 20 minutes for the basics either. I want to be upfront about one number here. Lower Sackville has been showing an average listing price in the neighborhood of $540,000, which puts it meaningfully below what you typically pay for comparable spaces in Halifax or in Bedford. I'll flag that this figure is one I'm still confirming against the more current boards of data, so treat it as a directional guide rather than gospel, until we can put the exact numbers together and really focus on your specific situation. Now, who is Lower Sackville actually right for? If you're a first-time buyer who wants space, a real yard, and a low entry point where you don't need to be downtown every single day, this is the exact kind of neighborhood that's worth putting near the top of your list when it comes to location, instead of at the bottom like most people do. If you need to walk to work or you want a nightlife outside of your front door, it's probably not going to be your first choice. And that's totally fine as well. Not every neighborhood is for every single buyer. And I'd rather tell you that honestly and upfront than try to sell you on a place that just isn't the right fit for you or your family. Here's what to watch out for. A lot of housing stock in Sackville is older, which is exactly what makes the price point work in your favor. But it also means that the roof, the windows, and the heating system probably are going to need more attention during our inspection instead of just quickly glancing over it. An older home with good bones and updated systems is a great buy. The same home with deferred maintenance can turn your savings into a renovation budget fast. So this is not the neighborhood to skip proper home inspections just to save a few $100. Now, I self-manage a rental property, so I look at older homes a little differently than someone who's only focused on new builds. I'm checking what actually has been updated versus what's just been painted over to look pretty or updated, because those are two very different homes wearing the same photos here. That's the kind of thing that I want on your side of the table before you write an offer. Not something that you find out later after the keys are yours and you need tens of thousands of dollars to make a repair. I want to tell you something about the pattern I see here, because it repeats constantly. First-time buyers are the biggest group of clients that I work with by a wide margin. Most of them come to me assuming their budget rules out anywhere decent in HRM. And most of the time, that assumption is wrong once we actually run the numbers together. Lower Sackville is usually where that conversation turns a corner for most people from "I probably can't afford anything" to "I didn't know this is what actually exists here." Those are the key differences that I want for you. I also want to be honest about the flip side of the coin here. This isn't a neighborhood where I tell you to rush an offer just because the price looks good on paper. Older homes need a slower, more careful look, and a good inspector here earns their fee every single time. Don't worry, I know great inspectors that I can connect you with. And I will always tell you to walk away from a property before I'll tell you to settle for one with problems you can't see just yet. If you're weighing Sackville against staying closer to the downtown core of Halifax, then think about what you're actually optimizing for. If it's proximity and walkability to the downtown core, might win every single time, but just at a smaller home. If it's a space, a yard, and getting into ownership sooner rather than later, then Sackville is very hard to beat on value right now of this recording. It's also worth comparing against renting the same kind of space anywhere close to that downtown core. A 2-bedroom rental in Halifax runs somewhere around $2,250 a month right now. And once you put that number next to your mortgage payments on a home in Sackville, where you can get a real yard or a little bit more space, then the math starts to look very different for most first-time buyers are expecting when they walk into their homes. So I'll say this too because it matters, but Sackville isn't just a fallback for people who get priced out in other markets. Plenty of buyers who could technically afford the core of downtown Halifax choose Sackville on purpose because they'd rather have space and bank the difference in price. It's a real choice here, not a consolation prize. So here's what I'd do if this sounds like your situation. First, get pre-approved so you know what your real numbers look like. Come look at a few properties in Sackville with me, even if you're not sure yet, because seeing what your budget actually buys you in different areas can be the real game changer and change the conversation fast for what we're looking for. And bring a proper inspector for anything that you're serious about every single time with an offer, no exceptions. I know it can feel discouraging to watch the average price headlines and assume that you're priced out of Halifax altogether. Most of the first-time buyers that I work with started out feeling the exact same way, and most of them are homeowners now. The number that scares you on a headline in the newspaper is rarely the number that actually applies once we look at the right neighborhood for your specific situation. Now, I'll stay flexible so this works for your lifestyle, not the other way around when it comes to doing viewings and looking at the market. That's how I approach every first-time buyer I work with, and Sackville is often where everything comes together. So if Lower Sackville sounds like it could be your starting point into home ownership, email me at loganexprealty@gmail.com and let's look at what is actually available for you and your lifestyle. If you want to see how a similar budget plays out across the rest of HRM, watch my latest video on what $500K actually buys you in Halifax right now. And if you're a new Canadian just starting your search, I've got videos for you as well. My information, again, is below in the description of this video. Let's get you a house today.